Evo Prodcast Season 1, Episode 1, where we delve deep into the world of test automation trends. I'm Drisha, currently working as a product marketing manager at Evo Automation. And today we have the privilege of hosting the Chief Technology Officer of Evo Automation, Mr. Shankaranarayana Adiga, a seasoned expert in the field of software testing and automation. Welcome, sir.
Th- Thank you, Disha.
Yeah. So, a little about Mr. Adiga. He currently serves as, of course, as the CTO for Evo Automation. And at Evo, he's involved in conceptualizing and implementing a strategic AI-enabled quality assurance platform aimed at empowering CXOs, IT, and business leaders to predict, analyze, and plan their business application assurance. His usual day involves collaborating with product management, sales, and marketing teams to define the product, vision, and roadmap tailored to address market uniqueness and unlock business leadership potential. So currently, he's uh, immensely engaged in establishing an innovation lab to delve into emerging technologies and solutions, fostering the development of unique intellectual property that aligns seamlessly with the overarching product strategy. Now, before we delve deep into the discussion with Mr. Rediga, we wanted to also explain why we are here today. And it's imperative to understand why we chose this topic to start off with our broadcast series. In today's rapidly evolving digital ecosystem, where software development life cycles are shrinking and user expectations are soaring, test automation has emerged as a cornerstone for efficient and effective quality assurance. But why are we even testing in test automation? What are the driving forces behind this paradigm shift in testing methodologies? In this broadcast, we will unravel the answers to these questions and more as we explore the compelling reasons behind the widespread adoption of test automation. So, join us as we embark on a journey to uncover the latest trends, best practices, and transformative technologies shaping the future of test automation. Together, let's discover how embracing these trends can empower organizations to deliver high quality software at speed without compromising on reliability or user experience. So, sir, it's a pleasure to have you here and thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Thanks, Disha.
Yeah. So, just to kick things off, let's discuss the current landscape of test automation. What are some notable trends you've observed recently? And with your vast experience in this domain, how is QA evolved over time?
Sure, Disha. Can you share the presentation? So,
Sure. Yeah.
thanks, Disha. Um, to start with, if you look at this presentation, today organizations are, fast embracing DevOps and product-centric model, to continuously deliver values to business. So basically, we need, quality at speed, to meet the business demand. So what it means to QA organizations. So basically QA organizations needs to be agile, intelligent, and achieve maximum automation to enable and they can ensure quality at speed, right? So let's look at, how this evolution of, the software development models and how QA is aligning to, this over a period of time. See, earlier, maybe until 2009 or 10, most of the projects are using traditional model, that's waterfall model. So basically in this model, releases are planned once in 6 months or at minimum, maybe a quarter. But teams are also segregated. You'll have a separate team for development, separate team for QA, and business teams are separate. So at that time, if you look at from a quality assurance perspective, predominantly manual testing, right? Automation was there. People are talking about automation, but they are very rarely used in, wherever is required. Mostly in some regression, they would have used it. That's all, not beyond that. From a non-functional testing, basically when you say non-functional testing, it was especially a performance testing that part of time, and they do it once in end of the releases, based on the time available. So basically that time, if you look at each releases are taking more time. There's a lot of back and forth between the teams, lot of reworks, and even by doing all those things, the confidence of making a release is very, very less. So later, maybe maybe sometime in 2010 onwards, slowly organizations are started adopting agile development models. Basically how fast they can meet the expectations, of business to go to market as early as possible. So with that, what happens? Project releases, which are earlier from quarterly, can slowly came to monthly and bi-weekly releases. And the teams were formed such a way that all the stakeholders are like part of the team, so that they can make a decision quickly and then move on. But from QA perspective, it was still manual, right? Automations was there, but it's very, very limited. And there's a lot of automation, skills are separate, so a lot of scripting was there. So basically automation was very, very less. So then the teams end up doing a manual testing. So, and when it comes to DevOps, everyone say that, we implemented DevOps, but when they say they implemented DevOps, it was only continuous integration and continuous deployment, what we call as a CI/CD, but absolutely no continuous testing, right? Even a continuous testing is also a part of DevOps. When someone says DevOps, continuous testing should be part of that, right? So it was not there, but basically testing, it was a bottleneck, even in at that point of time, even if people adopted to agile methodologies. So then the whole maturity happened. Now few years back, maybe 2 to 3 years back, organizations are talking about new paradigm shift called product centric model. When I say product centric model, the intention was basically how can they go to market faster, they can make a release faster, right? So now monthly releases are becoming a weekly or a daily releases. So basically they can do it faster. So when organizations are want to move to product centric model, what it means to QA, because QA plays a major role, right? So until then it was only a manual testing, right? So it takes time, or they will end up skipping the testing, right? So that's also a bad thing. So for QA, so how can we ensure quality at speed? Quality is default, right? So because of the competition in the market, whatever we release, it has to be, quality. That's the utmost thing. So to achieve quality, the automation is a key thing, and it should be near 100% automation. When we say 100% automation, it's not just only a functional automation. Even non-functional automation is also very, very important. So once you have a almost near 100% automation, continuous testing can be implemented very easily. So then the true DevOps will come into picture. So that's the expectations of product centric model, right? So again, I'm saying it's not just functional automation; it's the non-functional automation. So there's a lot of expectations, on QA, right? So pressure on QA to ensure, continuous value to business. So more than development, so QA team will have a more pressure on that, right? So, but there are several platforms like, Evo Assure, it's available, and using this one, any user should be able to automate like near 100% with the speed, right? That's very, very important, right? So if productivity rate is slow, by the time you automate all your functionalities, the application moved further. So then we are only in a catching game, right? So with Evo Assure or any other no code kind of a platform, we should be able to do that faster. So that's what actually I would like to tell Drisha for this.
So that's really fascinating. You mentioned about nearly 100% automation coverage. And with the advent of AI and Gen AI in the automation space or in automation landscape per se, so how do you think test automation is seen today and will be seen in future?
Of course. So maybe you can move to the next slide so I can explain
Yeah.
it there actually. So Very good question, Drisha. So if you look at the slide number two, test automation is something which started, early 90s, right? So before we starting, most of us starting the career, right? So that time it is just used for, record and playback, and people are using to automate, repetitive tasks, but it cannot be tweaked, right? So it was an early, automation tool. So since then, it evolved like, there are several frameworks are available. There are several scripting techniques was there. Open source came into picture. So basically, it's allowing, automation engineer users to kind of automate all the possibilities of the business, right? Like, we call it as a test cases, right? Negative test cases, positive test cases, everything you can automate it, right? But only thing is, if you look at in this slide, except the last, the column, all automation tools were require scripting knowledge, right? When I say scripting, in the sense like a programming, like they require a special skill. So with this, what happens now? With initially, like people will come in a Josh, they will automate it, but the maintenance is like no one there to automate it. So when the application releases are happening over a period of time, if your automation is not updated, as good as no automations are there. So then maybe like few years back, there are so many no code or low code test automation, solutions are available in the market, right? Evo Assure is one such tool, right? So this is kind of enabled users to focus on building business functionalities. When I say business functionalities, they can focus on, the test cases, right? So they no need to worry about, how to script this method, how to do that, automation, nothing. No code tool will take care of. Basically, specialized skills are not required. Even the automation engineer or even a manual tester who understand the application, they should be able to do that. And then the beauty is you are able to automate, maybe beyond 90 to 95% of your application functionalities. So with that, your continuous testing, come into picture. See, this is the kind of an evolution. And
Yeah,
can you move to the next slide, Drisha?
sure.
And team here, if you look at, there are like lot many things talked about AI and generative AI and all those things. Today, the test automation, the landscape is changing because of these two things, AI and Gen AI. All right. So now using Gen AI, and we can generate test plan, test cases, right? And then test data, everything. And even the Gen AI is giving like 60 to 70% accuracy while generating the test cases, right? And it can also generate the automation, right? But it requires a lot of modifications. But from a manual testing perspective, it gives like 60 to 70% accuracy, and that is only going to improve in in coming years, right? That is today. And then people are talking about that, right? And Evo Assure already implemented this functionality using AI and Gen AI, right? And another thing is, integrating to DevOps is a common thing. Everyone by default wants to implement DevOps, and continuous testing is becoming a common practices. So that is as of today. And now what's the future? See, the future is like a bit scary, but that's going to happen, right? So look at future is like, maybe we can predict for next 2 years and then after 2 years. In the next 2 years, um, if you look at increased adoptions of AI and machine learning will come into picture. That's going to become a common practices, and autonomous testing. So I can generate even the automation from the test cases, whatever generated from AI, and the maturity of shift right and then shift left will come. So with that, like, there's a lot of intelligence will be built in our automations, right? And then the self heal of automation is going to become a common. So this I'm just talking about, maybe like, end of 2025 or maybe 2026. So we call it as a human intervention, but that will be start from medium and then it will go down to low. But after 2026, the way this AI and Gen AI are making a headway, the human intervention will become even lower, right? But human will be in the loop because there's something called a maker and checker, right? All the making will be done by the AI, and then the checking will be done by the human. So that's what's going to happen, right? And AI will, mature like anything in our decision making, analyzing the data, all those things will automatically happen. That's what I can say, Drisha, here.
That's certainly a paradigm shift in how we have been approaching testing as of now and how will it be in future. So as we look to the future, how do you think or how do you envision Evo at the next frontier for test automation? And how do you think Evo Assure is progressing in terms of being relevant in this field?
Yeah. So maybe you can move to the next slide. This is what it is, right? So um, see, our main theme is like, how can we help, you know, quality assurance organization with the capabilities like, whatever happening in the market, and so that they can, ensure the quality of their application at the enterprise level, right? So today I'm just going to talk about only from an AI enablement, what we are doing and then what's going to come up in the future. Today, we already implemented AI in many areas. One is on the visual AI, if you look at here. So many organizations or many enterprises still have, there's a several legacy applications. When I say legacy application, it might be a mainframe, it might be a application which are built, maybe 90s technology or something. And in many places, they are enabled through Citrix or like some kind of a virtualization solution. Those applications cannot be automated easily. So we used AI algorithms and we have built AI model, and using this AI model, you can automate easily. And in fact, you can go up to almost 95% of functionality coverage. You can do it, right? Because these are all legacy applications. Still, they are very critical applications for the enterprise. That's the reason, right? And then other functionality called self-heal and impact analysis. Self-heal, I think you all know, right? You automate today, and when you test tomorrow, because of certain things, your automation won't work because your application element would have changed or element position would have changed, So then what happens? Then you have to come back to automation, redo it, whatever it is. With a self-heal, it can automatically detect what the changes and then auto adjust it. And then similarly, impact analysis. See, impact analysis is another major thing, which is a challenge in the automation industry. That this might be a 50% of the challenges. If you look at the world's QA report, which are published, if you look at maintenance is one of the biggest challenge in the industry. When I say maintenance, you automate in release one. So when you move to release two, there are certain enhancement would have come or some defects would have fixed. Unless if you update the automation, your automation cannot be executed or run there. So this impact analysis solution, it allows users, what has been changed in your new application releases, and it can kind of help you to update the automation. So basically what happens with this impact analysis, it will reduce your maintenance effort to, maybe below 5%. So but basically you can do that. And then the test case generation. So in the previous slide, when I talked about, the advent of Gen AI, so we already use that capability in our product. So using this function, you can generate the test cases, you can generate the test data, and you can do the test planning also. So these functionality are already there, and most of our customers are already started using it. Right. So what's future? So we will be releasing certain fixed functionality in March release on this. So here, if you look at coverage, the middle box is the one major thing. So coverage is basically you have a releases, your upcoming releases, and each releases someone has to automate it. We are thinking why someone has to automate it. I know the requirement, I know the code change, I know how people are using application in the production, I know the application log. Can I automatically automate for your new functionalities or new releases? That's how we are looking at things. And then we are almost ready with that, enhancement or the features. We will be releasing, maybe a couple of months down the line, right? So that's the one thing. And another major improvement using AI is, see, if you look at you executed many times, there is a lot of data available in our data lake. Can I make a report very smart way? All right. Can I help application owner to predict something? Can I allow application user to ask questions like the way they're asking to Google, or maybe like now the chat GPT, right? So can I do that? There's another stream we are working on that, right? So those are all something which we are targeting in by next quarter. And in the later part of this year, so we wanted to implement a smart regression. So with a smart regression, what happens if you have a say 1,000 test cases based on your release requirement? You no need to run all the 1,000 test cases. Can I run 100 test cases which are more required, which are like covers all my impacted areas? So how do you decide all this impacted area? That is my AI model, right? That's how we are looking at things. And then the quality prediction. I have, all the data of testing, development, requirement, how things are happening in the production. So with all this data, so we can help, application owner to predict where to focus on, what else they need to do it, so that they will have a good night's sleep on, release days. So this is the plan of our AI features, Drishan.
Exciting times ahead, indeed. And before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts or advice for our listeners who are navigating the ever-changing landscape of test automation?
Of course, Drisha. See, like, in my whole experience, there'll be like always new technology, new methodologies, it always comes up, right? And basically to help people, or help enhance the business expectations, right? And today similarly AI and Gen AI is such thing, happening in the market today. So my suggestion is basically like, as a QA, we have a lot of responsibility, because we are certifying, whether these applications can go to business, so that any company's business, outcome can be expected, right? So it's a big responsibility. So with that, my suggestion is learn these technologies, right? And then when I say learn this technology, what is this technology? How it can help in my areas? So we should be very clear about that. I think we should put effort on that. The second thing is we need to be a problem solver, right? And to be a problem solver, we also need to understand our domain properly. When I say a domain, if I am testing a banking application, I should understand the banking domain very thoroughly.
Yeah.
And also I should understand what is the challenges in the banking domain today, what are all the expectations. So then you can test the application in that way. So you can define the test strategy, you can make a plan accordingly. So then Gen AI or AI is just a tool for you to do that. That's what my 2 cents, or my suggestion to the people here, Drisha.
Wise words to conclude a discussion. I mean, I completely agree with this part that you need to understand who you're catering to before you're building that tool and to use that tool better. So, thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise with us today. Now, I'd like to
Thank
open
you.
the stage for the audience to engage with our speaker, and I would like you guys to just raise your hands, and I will unmute you, and you can directly ask your question to the speaker.
Yeah, Nishita.
Yeah, just 1 second, I'll unmute. Yeah, Nishtha, I hope.
Hello.
Yeah, Nishita.
Am I?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Yes. Hi. So, in the points that you explained here regarding the AI enablement, you also mentioned about test case generation. So, can you explain more on your test plan? So, I understand test cases, test data, but what is your test plan that you are trying to generate through AI? And also, how will you ensure that it will be relevant to the application that you will be testing?
Yeah, sure, Nishta. See, test plan is very important artifact which we need to have it right for any releases. So typically, what it contains, you need to decide, what are all the different test cases you need to run, what all the different testing has to be done, and some kind of high level planning and all those things, right? For that, the application context is very important. When I say application context, what requirement, all those things. So you need to supply those application contexts properly to GenAI. So then you ask the questions, then it will generate, the test plan. And then sometime you may need to do some 2-3 times iteration so basically your exact prompt engineering. So based on that, you will get the test plan. And then the benefit is no, you can tweak it. So, but it gives some kind of a guidance, Nisha. So using that, you can move on.
Okay, but then what is your input? Like, what are you asking from the user for your test case generation and others?
See, basically, test case has to be generated against your project requirement, right? So project requirement, it can be in any, your SRS document, or it can be all the user stories of your application. Like suppose if you are on a say 20th release, up to 19th release user story is also a requirement, and you pass all these informations to GenAI. So GenAI will automatically build the context to that, right? So that's what you have to do that. And in some cases, what happens now, you have taken over an applications, right? So that time, even if you pass the user manual, because it's an existing application, it's not a new application, right? That also can be an input to set the context. But the clear thing is you have to set the context, Nista. So then only your GenAI will give a proper, test case or test data, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's correct. So basically, you are supporting all kinds of documents, right? Varieties.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Shashank has one question for you. And just,
Hi, hi, Shashank.
yeah.
Hi, sir. Very nice session,
How
sir,
are you?
and very
Thank
insightful.
you.
So, sir, for the organizations who are, right now using different tools and things where they are already into some sort of automation model which they are using, if they have to convert into this model, what is the roadmap for them? That is the question number one. And another question, since we are using the latest technologies, so is there a cost factor as well, which we can showcase in the session, which can, help organizations to make decision if they have to make a choice between current automation tool versus Evo, how do they have to, think in this direction?
Yeah, good question, Shashank. See, Shashank, like, we also built, kind of a migration tool wherein, like, if you're already automated using, non-Evo platform, like be it a Selenium, be it a Tosca, be it like any other tool in the market, you can
Mhm.
easily migrate, into Evo. And the success rate, what you have seen, Shashank, is maybe around 70 to 80% will be migrated to the Evo. But
Mhm.
some 20 to 30%, you need to tweak it, because multi dimension, or like several reasons will be there for that. See, one is
Yes.
you automated maybe a few years earlier, and that time whatever the automations you did, the framework would have changed it, right? So you need to redo it, right? Or you don't have updated the test script. So there are multi reasons will be there, right? So whatever we saw, maybe around 70 to 80% we are able to migrate, Shashank. So
Okay.
and then that ROI model, that's a different calculation. There are like various factors will come into picture, right? So the ROI
Mhm.
model does not consider only how much time you save in automation creation, how much time you save in only automation, execution. There are like other factors also will come into picture. So using all those things, we need to make a business model.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Shashank. Thanks.
Any more questions? Because I do not see any raised hands. Okay, so I don't think we do not have any more questions. Guys, I'm just opening, like the floor is still open. If you have any questions, you can always raise your hand and you can get your questions answered by sir here. Um, yeah,
Yeah, Nishtha again.
yeah.
So just one more question. So are you also using ChatGPT as an LLM or any other language models have you tried?
We are using, that's a continuous exploration, Nishtha. Today, we are using three model, like it's tested. And in fact, we also plan to use Gemini. So that is, it has its own issues. I think, right, what's happening would have seen the news, right? We use Microsoft OpenAI, then Anthropic, and then Cohere. So these three models we are using at this point of time. And we are exploring all the new models which are coming in the market.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So in that case, I think we can wrap up now. But yeah, so before we wrap up, of course, we'd like to extend a heartfelt gratitude to all our listeners for joining us on the exploration of test automation trends. And your engagement and support, of course, mean the world to us. So remember to stay tuned for more insightful discussions and feel free to reach out with any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes. For the next episode, of course, watch out our space, LinkedIn space, and other spaces to get informed about our upcoming podcast in the month of March or April. And yeah, happy testing and stay curious. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in, and thank you so much for the lovely audience to be a part of this session today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all. Bye.